Armando Bacot is back, and North Carolina snaps their four-game losing streak. The Tar Heels get their first ACC win, 75-59 over the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. We're going to talk about it all right here on this live instant reaction on Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, it's Isaac Shade, the host of Locked On Tar Heels. Welcome in, and we are so glad you're here to break down North Carolina's win over Georgia Tech on Saturday in the Dean Smith Center. Boy, it is good to be home. Right, folks? Yes, absolutely. Armando Bacot is back for the Tar Heels and has a great performance, albeit working his way back into shape. What we always like to do on these instant takeaway game recaps is I will give you several things that I loved about this performance for the Tar Heels, or that I watched and saw, and why I think they are important. And then I also will take questions and we'll have some good conversation back and forth together. So that said, go ahead and drop in your questions into the chat. If you are not a subscriber to our YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe, and then that will allow you to be able to comment in our chat stream. And so hop right on in and do that. So let's get into these takeaways. The first takeaway, and the most important thing to me that happened in this game, is something I've been talking about all week long leading up, is North Carolina has done, quite frankly, a terrible job of sharing the ball lately. The stat that I've been using all week is that the Tar Heels' single highest assist percentage this season in one game is 54.8%. That was against Portland on Thanksgiving Day. The Tar Heels 2 years ago, Coach Williams last year averaged a higher percentage than that for the entire season. Their single game high this season was lower than that. That's not a good sign. The last two games, Virginia Tech and Indiana, North Carolina had a 25% assist rate. That's just not going to cut it. But here we go. The team comes out. They're doing a great job sharing the ball. And today, against Georgia Tech, a season high 55.6% assist percentage. They had 15 assists on 27 made baskets. You love to see that number. And as we go in and look at the stat sheet, 5 assists for Caleb Love to lead the way. And that is the biggest takeaway from all those assist numbers. It's got to be Caleb Love. Now, the issue is that he also had 4 turnovers, but you see all 5 starters plus Seth Trimble had at least 1 assist. RJ and Seth each had 3 assists, and that actually gets into my second big takeaway from this game, is that Seth Trimble really was the steadying force down the stretch of the first half as Carolina was building their lead. He finishes the game with 3 assists, zero turnovers, folks, for Seth Trimble in this game. And that's exactly what you need. And in fact, down the stretch of that first half is when the Tar Heels really kicked it into high gear. They closed the first half on a 16-2 run, 11-0, to gain that 39-26 halftime lead. And a lot of that, for my money's worth, was due to Seth Trimble's capability to run the team there. And part of it is Caleb Love had 3 of his 4 turnovers in the first half. And in fact, only played 11 minutes while Seth Trimble played 9. Coach Davis, thank you. This is what I've been waiting to see. If Caleb is not doing the things he needs to do, get Seth Trimble in there, let him run the show. But the good thing is that Caleb heard it loud and clear, comes in the second half, and is more under control, has 2 of his assists, plays the entire second half. And so really interesting stuff there. So anyway, that is takeaway number 2. I thought Seth Trimble really showed something during this down the stretch of the first half, and maybe has given Coach Davis and the coaching staff a formula going forward for being able to allow their freshman guard to really lead and guide the way in running this team when needed. And you love to see that. The third thing, let's not bury the lead any longer. How important is it to have Armando back for this game? It's massively important. RJ Davis is the leading scorer, 22 points. In fact, a double-double. Second time this season, he's got up to 10 rebounds. And I'll go ahead and mention while I'm saying that, my favorite moment of this entire game was there were a couple, maybe 2 minutes left, and there's a rebound that RJ is about to get for his 10th rebound. And he kind of got bumped aside. And so Armando wound up with it. And they both realized like immediately what had happened. You could see them go back and look at it. If you've got the game DVR'd or something, you can see the look that they give each other. It's like, bro, I had that. That was my 10th rebound. What are we doing here? But anyway, having Armando Bacot back in this game is massive. I was worried right out of the gate. He had Carolina got the tip to start the game. Didn't score any points, but Armando had I think 1 or 2 offensive rebounds on that possession, came back down and blocked Georgia Tech's shot on their first offensive possession, interestingly with his left arm, with his left hand, but he did look to be holding his shoulder right out of the gate there, and I was like, oh, here we go. Oh man. Also look at this crazy head of hair I got going today. Anyway, Armando, so I was worried, but comes out, is super efficient, 21 points on 8 of 16 shooting. That's 50% for a big guy. I guess I said super efficient. You'd like to see him more into the 60s on that number, but you'll take it. Does finish with 13 rebounds. 7 of those are offensive. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Great job by Armando there. But another thing that I love that Armando did, you've heard me say, and if you watch the game on TV, you heard the commentators talk about that Armando's had some turnover issues this season. You look in his turnover column, what do you see? Big, fat goose egg, 0 turnovers for Armando Bacot in this game. That is what Coach Davis needs out of him. Great. So Armando, welcome back. And a couple notes on his performance. Armando moved into 3rd place on the all-time Carolina rebounding list today. That is insane. He's coming for you, Tyler Hansbrough, and barring injury, should easily get there. A couple other things. With his 10th rebound today, Armando Bacot now has 61 career double-figure rebound games. That ties Billy Cunningham, the Kangaroo Kid, for the most in school history. Speaking of which, he's also chasing Billy Cunningham in career double-doubles and now has 53, which again is obviously second in Carolina history. So you love to see that. Okay, next big takeaway from this game is this. No Tar Heel played more than 35 minutes. I would love to get it even lower, but that is a win. The fact that nobody played 36, 37, 38 minutes, as we see sometimes, is awesome. Now, you want to have your best players on the court for as long as possible. And so you're getting that, but 30 minutes for Pete Nance, 31 for Caleb Love, 34 each for Mondo and RJ, and then 35 for Leaky, who had the most minutes in the game. But you look down and 15 minutes for Seth Trimble, 12 minutes for Puff Johnson. That's the thing. That's great. I would love to see more for them, a little bit less for the starters, and also more for others, including, get Tyler Nickel in more. Interestingly, once again, we did not see Dontrez Styles. Keep watching, folks. I'm just telling you, keep watching what's going on with Dontrez Styles. And so great there to get fewer minutes. Now, speaking of the bench, that is our next big takeaway. Bench points for the Tar Heels. You had 10. Would love to see more than that, but hey, it is something. But the cool thing is every player that got in scored at least 1 point. In fact, Leaky was the lowest, but Seth Trimble had 4, Puff Johnson had 2, Tyler Nickel had 2. But the greatest thing is that with 2 minutes and 22 seconds, Jalen Washington checks in for the first time in his Carolina career. Welcome to the show, young man. Carolina has a possession, and then on their next possession, with just under a minute left, they get a clear out for him in the post. Nice little turnaround, Jay in the lane. and bounces off the rim and down back in. So Jalen Washington, congrats on not only getting in the game for the first time in your Carolina career, but also scoring your first points. This is awesome, and you love to see it for this young man. And that's going to add some great depth for the Tar Heels in the post and as a team. Hopefully he can begin working more into game shape and be ready to go with that. Okay, ready to start taking some questions from you guys in a little bit. So if you haven't already started putting those in, please go ahead and do that. If you are not a subscriber to our YouTube channel and you want to get in on the conversation, just hit subscribe, and then you will be given commenting privileges. You'll be able to get in and comment as well. So really quickly, before we turn to all of those conversations, let me tell you that this episode is brought to you by BetOnline, which is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer, Morocco. What? Love it. World Cup and esports. They've got it all at BetOnline. It's the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about all the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, folks, so let me look into the comments, start checking out your questions. We'll pop some of those up and we'll see what we're looking at. By the way, one more thing I do need to have us look at. I forgot to see how things turned out rebounding because, oh, yes, another massive takeaway. Carolina out-rebounded Georgia Tech today by 21. Georgia Tech only had 22 total rebounds. The Tar Heels almost fall one rebound shy of doubling up Georgia Tech on the glass. Boy, that is what the Tar Heels needed. Georgia Tech only had one offensive rebound. They had 21 defensive rebounds. So that means Carolina had more defensive rebounds than Georgia Tech had total rebounds. Wow, interesting. Okay, here we go. Let's get into the chat overlay and see what is going on there. From Matthew. Matthew, always good to see you, man. Thanks for hopping in. Says it's always a great day to get a win. Definitely a step in the right direction. Yes. Who surprised you the most in this game? For me, very interestingly, I am going to say that it was Armando. I know that sounds weird, but I just didn't know what to expect from him today. But boy, he went out and gutted out this performance. As I said just a minute ago, I was worried about him off the top. Was already kind of grabbing at his shoulder to start the game. And so, wow, what a performance by him. But if I had to go with a second person, it would be Seth Trimble, because I loved what he gave to this team in the first half and running it. And I think perhaps it also surprised me because Coach Davis clearly was sending a message to Caleb by benching him, putting Trimble in for the almost as many minutes as Caleb played in the first half, and just letting him run the show. And honestly, that stretch down the end of the first half was the best defense I thought Carolina played all day, and was the most efficient Carolina played all day as well. Great question. Next one coming here from Lamar Davis. What's up, Lamar? Glad you're here, brother. Says, I feel like we are 10 solid deep. Why does Hubert only play 7? So that is a great question. I mean, clearly at this point, it is becoming what he does, to your question, right? All offseason, we heard promises from Coach Davis of, man, we got all this great depth this year and we're going to use it in a big way. And that's just not been the case. There were 9 that played, but of course, one of those was Jalen Washington, who only played the last 2 minutes of the game. Tyler Nickel played 5. And then, so that really means, to your question, there was only 7 that really played substantial minutes, which includes no Dontrez Styles. Obviously, we know DeMarco Dunn is out with a broken hand, so that factors into that. I think with Jalen Washington in now, we might see this team go a legit 8 deep, with obviously Seth Trimble and Puff Johnson are going to get a ton of minutes, but especially if Armando is still working back into shape, with his shoulder there. And don't forget, has that tweaked ankle as well. Jalen Washington can be huge in the front court. Really interested to see the dynamic of how he plays alongside both Pete Nance and Armando Bacot. And so that is something to keep an eye on as well. And so I am hopeful that as things continue to progress, we will see 8, 9, 10. Of course, as we firmly now get into ACC play after there's 3 more games. Citadel on Tuesday night, Ohio State next Saturday, a week from today in Madison Square Garden, which, by the way, if you're going to be up there, I'll be there. Would love to see you. And then following that is Michigan in the Jumpman Invitational. But then it's ACC the rest of the season. And I think that's when we'll really see it be 7, 8 that get double-digit minutes a game with some Tyler Nickel mixed in, DeMarco Dunn once he gets back, which we're hearing is going to be around the end of the month if things go as expected on his front. As for Dontrez Styles, I don't expect to see much of him other than in a pinch. Same, obviously, we didn't see any Justin McCoy today either, or Will Shaver, and I expect that to be more the norm than not. Okay. From Nintendo Nerd, good to see you as always. I always struggle with your name, Nintendo Nerd. There we go, the Nintendo Nerd. In addition to seeing the players improve, Coach Davis improved. Love that. He brought Seth in to sit Caleb down when he wasn't playing well. That is how you should use your bench. Yes, absolutely, 100%. I said that just a few minutes ago, but this is what I've been asking for, and I love to see Coach Davis doing it. If Caleb is not going to be doing what he needs to do or is capable of doing, maybe is another way to say it, then he's got to sit. That's the only way to get through to him is rip away playing time. And that's what Coach Davis did in the first half. 11 minutes for Caleb, 9 minutes for Seth Trimble. That's what's got to happen. And more importantly, is that when Caleb was out, Seth Trimble not only didn't hurt the team, he helped the team. And that's pivotal. When bench guys come in, they have to at least keep the status quo, if not play better than the starters. And that's exactly what Seth Trimble did. However, one area that we need to touch on there while we're talking about Caleb is that as a team, another struggle from the 3-point line for the Tar Heels. 3 of 13 from deep, including most of that is Caleb, who was 1 of 6. So that percentage for him is going to continue to plummet. He'll stay under 30%. No good there. The 3 threes came from Caleb, hit 1. RJ was 1 of 2, and Pete Nance was 1 of 2. And want to mention that at some point. But the best possession of the game was the Pete Nance 3. Go look at the ball movement on that possession. So great point, Nintendo Nerd, that you love to hear that. Hey, what's up, ARW1W5? Great to see you. Says, I think Washington will be our best freshman. Boy, that is bold. I love to hear it. Could very well be true and accurate about this team. It's just hard to know how good of game shape he's going to be able to get in and how quickly. You hope, I mean, the staff, both the coaching staff and medical staff, has been working him along slowly but well, so that when he comes in, he's ready to go. So obviously it's going to take a while to get into game shape, but do that he will. I mean, it's obviously for best freshman, it's between he and Seth Trimble. Will Shaver just won't see much playing time this year. Making strides, and you love to see it. Great young man. As for Tyler Nickel, he's going to get playing time, but it's going to be spot playing time here and there. So it's definitely between Trimble and Washington. And I think Washington, particularly on a team that is struggling to hit 3-pointers, Jalen Washington, who can do that very well, thank you very much, is going to add a lot to this team. And so if he's able to come in and do that, he's going to see regular double-digit minutes, game in and game out, along with Puff Johnson and along with Seth Trimble. But Seth is not that shooter yet. Seth is the playmaker, distributor, defender. I mean, you continue to see his one-on-one defensive skills. It's just like there was a play, I feel like it was in the second half. Forgive me, I can't remember for sure. Somebody needs to come in and let us know in the comments. But he was down like on the right block, and a ball got loose on the left wing, sprinted out of nowhere to get it, and took it back the other way. I don't even remember the result of the play. It was just him getting to the ball was wild. And so love to see it. A lot of bench conversations. Yeah, more benches, so many bench conversations with a 19-point lead. Why no more bench action? Well, part of that was Carolina got out to a 20-point lead. Actually, I believe was the biggest lead of the game. And Georgia Tech hit back-to-back threes at that point to get it right back down to 14. And so there was just enough time left there where Coach Davis wasn't going to do it. It's just what he's doing. Garrett Clem, it's good to see you, brother. Armando played a physical game. Proud of him. Yeah. I would love to know right now what's going through his head. I know he'll say like, yeah, I'm good. I'm doing okay, whatever. But I want to know what's going through his head. And literally the next comment after that is I honestly thought Bacot should have rested one more game, not knowing how his shoulder was. And so, man, that is a real legit thing. By the way, I've got the comment stream going now. And so as you drop in new comments, they should pop up there on the stream. Nintendo Nerd, another one here from you. Yes, not only did we need to talk about what RJ did leading everyone in scoring, but just his efficiency in this game. 22 points to lead all scorers on 8 of 13 shooting, 1 of 2 from 3, did miss a free throw. He's shooting a phenomenal percentage at the line. That double-double we already talked about, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, did have 4 turnovers. So that's the one negative there, and had a steal in 34 minutes. And so, and I think part of that is once again, being able to play off the ball a little bit in the first half as Seth Trimble took some of the reins of the team. And so that's great. You love to see it. Ray Melton says, why isn't Ty playing more? I assume you mean Tyler Nickel. And that's a great question. Only played 5 minutes in this game. A lot of it is, frankly, his defense isn't where it needs to be at. And so, like that was part of it. He played so much down the stretch of the Virginia Tech game last Sunday. But they started kind of isolating him and picking on him when they were on offense. You saw a couple times today where he either got beaten off the dribble or wasn't able to get out on a shooter. And so I think that's really the only thing that's limiting him right now. His one basket that he had was a nice shot. I thought it was in rhythm, kind of that same kind of deep mid-range that RJ is so good back. Boy, RJ Davis's one dribble pull up to get by a defender is insane. Garrett, good to see you. Also says, I think the passing was a lot better today. Absolutely it was. We talked about it right off the top. And so I want to say something beyond just the assist numbers, but once again, for those who missed it early, 15 assists on 27 made baskets, the highest assist percentage this season. And so that's fantastic news. But beyond just assisting on made baskets, like the passing was crisper, getting around. I mentioned the best possession of the game for Carolina offensively was the possession that wound up with Pete Nance's 3. And that was the best ball movement I've seen from Carolina, passing up decent shots as defenders came flying to get the best shot. And that's absolutely what this team needs to be able to do. Let's keep looking. Man, as I'm scrolling through, just being reminded of how good it was to get a win. You see it pop up there in the stream from Knowledge Seeker 360, and I'm showing it down below as well from ARW1, W5. Styles probably won't be playing that much. We have Dunn, Trimble, Washington, Nickel, and Johnson that will be playing over him. I'm not expecting to see much of Dontrez Styles this season, for some other reasons that I don't think he is going to continue to be a part of what's going on. I just, from things that I have heard from some of my sources, I just don't. Just keep your eyes on news about about Dontrez Styles. Let's just leave it at that for now. Nintendo Nerd. This game made me a full believer of Seth Trimble. I love his energy on both ends of the floor and want to see him get more minutes. Yes, more minutes, more trusting the entirety of the offense to Seth Trimble. Believe in that. Nintendo Nerd up in the chat stream also says, what were the offensive rebounding stats? I feel like we got more this game, but still need to improve. Yeah, absolutely got more. For those who, Nintendo Nerd or others who missed it earlier, first off, Georgia Tech had one offensive rebound in this entire game, only 22 total, so 21 defensive rebounds. Armando himself had 7 offensive rebounds. So the Tar Heels as a team had 12 offensive rebounds, 43 total. And so plus Georgia Tech had 22, Carolina had 43. So that's plus 21 on the glass. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Here's another one. I'm bringing back in ARW1 again. We need to get Nance the ball more. He is our most consistent scorer. Man, there was a late shot clock situation, and the crowd is counting down, and everyone's kind of freaking out. He's just calmly operating down to the post, has a nice turnaround, hits it. Pete finishes with 11 points. Only had 4 field goal attempts, and that I mean, that's the thing is, you've got Caleb had 12 field goal attempts, RJ 13, 16, but Leaky also only 4 attempts. Pete Nance needs to have more field goal attempts in total, but let's do. I do want to praise this side of it, is that he's playing very much within the rhythm of the offense, not looking to take too much. You heard him say all offseason, I'm going to do whatever this team needs. And that's what he did in this game. Perfect from the line, 4 for 4, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover in 30 minutes. And here's the kicker. He had the best plus minus in the game, Pete Nance did, plus 22. That doesn't tell you everything, but keep it going. So there you go with that. Great question here from Garrett. Jalen can shoot from the outside. Think we can use him to stretch the floor? 100%. One of the big issues this team has dealt with is that, like last year, part of what made the Iron Five such a dynamic offensive unit is because of Brady, right? Everyone else is still in there, but Brady's ability to stretch the floor, not clog the lane, did 2 things. It allowed Armando to operate without much around him. It also unclogged the lane for RJ and Caleb to get in as needed and either finish or kick out to Brady or the other one of them who either wasn't doing it. And so I think because part of it right now, if you want to do that, you've either got to use Leaky or Puff at the 4, which obviously limits you some on your height. Because again, one of the big lineups that's been fantastic for North Carolina is a 3-guard lineup with either Pete Nance or Armando at the 5, but then you have to go a little bit small at the 4 with, like I just said, either Puff or Leaky. But if you could go 3-guard lineup with Jalen Washington at the 4 and either Pete or Armando at the 5, not only are you now not sacrificing offense because Jalen Washington is a better offensive basketball player than either Puff or Leaky, you're in great shape. So Garrett, absolutely, to your point, we can use that. Rob, this is a great question from Rob. Do you think Washington is a 2-year player? I think it depends on just how much he's able to get into things this season. Like it, again, he hasn't played basketball in so long. I mean, like professional, organized basketball. And so Jalen absolutely has the talent and skill set to do so. Like his lower high school rating coming out is just because of his injuries. If he had been a healthy guy, he's top 20 easily in this class. And so I think because of getting back into things, he's a 2-year player. And also, assuming Armando leaves after this year, he could be featured in the post next year because also Pete Nance is gone, right? And you imagine my estimation at this point is that Carolina goes to get somebody else out of the transfer portal, like a Bacot body style to play in the post. But man, Jalen could be awesome next year. And so at this point, yes, Rob, I would say that he is a 2-year player. Here's another one from Garrett. Garrett dropping all sorts of good bombs today. I don't think we've seen the whole team together. Two of the best bench players are out. DeMarco and Jalen, thankfully, is back now. Still haven't played together. Gonna be much better bench, and that's the thing. I've also said this a lot this week. Yes, it hurt this 4-game losing streak because a lot of it is the Tar Heels didn't play as well as they can or as they should have. However, just keep remembering all the external things and issues that have gone on in that stretch. Being gone from home for so long, the injuries, the 4 overtime game, playing at 10 a.m. on Thanksgiving, having to go straight to Bloomington, getting in 5 a.m. on Thursday morning after Bloomington, and having to turn around pretty quick and go to Blacksburg last Sunday. This team is going to start gelling and congealing and getting everyone back. And part of that is going to be, honestly, I think with DeMarco's injury is unfortunate for him, but I think it's also going to cause him to lose some of the minutes he had when he comes back, because Seth was always going to have those eventually, just because at this point in both of their lives, Seth is the better basketball player and probably more important to this team, although DeMarco brings a lot, and I think he has the opportunity to work back in when he's healthy. And so, yes, Garrett, this team has a lot coming for them. This is an interesting question from ARW1. This is for next year, but do you think Simeon's brother CJ on Nebraska might transfer here next year? So Simeon Wilcher is the highest rated recruit for Carolina next year. It's he and Zayden High in the 23 class. Simeon is a guard, kind of a combo guard in the realm of what everyone is right now, but is an absolute stud. Anyway, what ARW1 is referring to here is his brother CJ is an upperclassman at Nebraska right now. And so, yeah, I mean, in this day and age, when you can just leave and go, why not? It's like, hey, dude, let's play together. That'd be awesome. So I'm certainly not ruling it out, but a lot of it is dependent upon roster makeup and what the team needs or doesn't need. And or, you've got some guys right now on scholarship that aren't playing all that much. And so maybe like if it is a chemistry thing, okay, why not? So yeah, I think that's absolutely a possibility for CJ to come here right now. Okay, we're getting into what you all see on the screen. Our bench is so unpredictable, Carson says. Yeah, that's the truth. Nintendo Nerd, you can see, I think it's gone on the screen, so I'll pop it up here. Says, I'll take a lower amount of threes made if it means we're taking better shots overall. If we take good shots and play good offense, the threes will come in time. And that's the issue. A lot of the threes have been bad threes. Like there was one early in the game, I think it was. First half, I can't remember exactly when, but Caleb took an early shot clock, difficult three that he could have gotten at any point. If he it was like, that is nonsensical. Yes, Caleb should absolutely be shooting threes within rhythm, in the flow of the offense, at points in the shot clock that makes sense, right? And that's so true. And so, yes, as you continue the passing that we saw today, as you continue moving the ball, moving the defense, which again, part of it is Georgia Tech is weird defensively. They switch out into different defenses at random moments. I love how Josh Pastner does that, but it does make things tough for a team to play against. But yes, better days have to be ahead for this team as the 3-point shooting team, who is under 30% right now. I haven't added in the numbers yet to see what the team percentage is after Georgia Tech, but I'll look at that a little bit later. Here, this would be interesting. What about a big lineup with Davis or Love, Johnson or Leakey, Washington, Nance, and Bacot? That has potential in the right scenario to roll with that, ARW1. I think the small ball lineup with like the 3-guard lineup is going to be more effective, but there could, like when you're playing, say, like Florida State with all their length, or playing Syracuse with all their length, there's a lot of possibility there for that to happen. And so, yeah, if you have a guard and then either basically Puff or Leaky at the 2, or maybe even Tyler Nickel could do that, because you don't want to lose too much offense. That would be the one thing I'd be worried about. But also the movability, because gonna have to wait and see Washington, where he's at with his mobility coming back from injury. Obviously, Mondo can get out and guard with the right guys on the perimeter, but that would be a big hesitation with this, is how are the guards able, or excuse me, how are the bigs able to hold up in ball screen action in that scenario? But hey, in the right context, in the right game, would love to see a big lineup. And that's part of the versatility I love with this team, is I feel like Coach Davis can go small with 3 guards, and that be just dastardly. Let Seth Trimble or Leaky get all up in guys. Come on with that noise. I would love it. Stay vigilant. What's up? That's your first comment. Good to see you. Always love to have you chiming in. I'm still worried about the 3-point line against tougher competition. Absolutely. I cannot fault that. I'm worried about the 3-point line against lesser competition. Frankly, I mean, that's what we're seeing. And it's already bad, but it's one of those things where it can only feel like it can go up. I mean, at some point, Caleb's going to get unlocked and he's going to start hitting. RJ shot 50% from 3 today, but only took 2, meaning he made 1. But was the leading scorer. And so that's the thing. If you're going to still be able to score and not have to take as many, okay, as long as you're getting efficient shots, I'm good with that. Rob M says, maybe an out of the box question, but what are your thoughts on the new charge blocking rule? I personally hate it. I'm wondering specifically what you mean. Like, are you talking about like the restricted circle that's come in the past couple weeks? Let me know specifically what part of the rule you're talking about. With if it is that, I like the rule itself because it protects like the offensive players in a lot of ways, from taking weird falls. I like, because what I hate is when a defender just slides in last second and gets like, that's crap. Come on. But what I don't like is them not reviewing it. Like, going back to the Alabama game, there was a play in one of the overtimes where Caleb was whistled, or maybe it wasn't overtime. I can't specifically remember. I feel like it was the Alabama game. Caleb was whistled for a charge on a play where the Alabama defender was clearly inside the restricted arc and it wasn't called. And so, I mean, overall, Rob, like, my thing with the charge blocking calls is that it's so inconsistent from ref to ref. I feel like they don't all adjudicate it the same. And that's what makes it difficult. You just never know. I feel like they get a lot of times, I think they get tricked because a player, the head flop back. Man, I just got whiplash on that. I need somebody to come. Oh, here we go. Rob says, I'm specifically talking about how they're allowing flopping and not giving many flop warnings. Yes. Okay. That side of the new rule. So this year, if you're not aware, there are no flop warnings given. If you are whistled for a flop, it is an automatic technical 1 free throw. You don't get 2 in the ball. You get 1 technical free throw out of that. Like, I'm okay with them trying new things. It's just frustrating because I just feel like refs, and I get it, it's a fast game, aren't good. Like, I think they get sold a bill of goods all the time and they don't know what's an actual flop and what's not. I feel like they get cheated on that. What team was it? Carolina? Was it Charleston? That was just like selling every call in the book. And so, yeah, Rob, to that point, I'm out. I hate it. Needs to let Love play off the ball, period. Yeah. Carson Hooper, RJ is the most important piece to come back next year. Listen, it's going to be a loaded backcourt. Keep your eyes on that, because if RJ does come back, which I think he should, I'd love to see a Carolina backcourt of RJ not having to defer at times to Caleb. Because this should be RJ's team, but it's not. Caleb's not letting it happen, and he needs to. RJ needs to be the one that runs the show. Or now Seth. Man, I'm all in on Seth running the show after what we saw today. But keep in mind, this backcourt is going to be loaded. You're going to have RJ. You're going to have Seth, assuming he doesn't leave, and assuming also that RJ doesn't leave. And Simeon Wiltshire coming in, and that dude ain't sitting on the bench. So keep an eye on the backcourt. Maybe another 3-guard year. Garrett, what did you say here? Not a question, but I love the shoes every morning and all the post games. Thanks for all the content, Isaac. Man, it is my pleasure, you guys. I love to be able to do this, to chat with you, and come in and be going, what do you mean, Garrett, about the shoes? Do I post my shoes and I'm forgetting? I'm just not sure what you're referencing there. Say more about it. But love getting to get in on all the post games and have these conversations with you guys. Keep connecting, keep being part of what we're doing. Carson says, here's another good one. Will we go back to the top? Says top 25 is the next comment to follow up. You can see it there on the screen. Will we go back to the top 25 if we win the next two? Well, Georgia Tech is a sub 100 KenPom team. I believe last I looked, they were like 122, maybe it was. Shows, Garrett. Yes, I'm so glad, man. So glad it's beneficial to you. Love everyone tuning in and being a part of the shows, both whether you watch here on YouTube or whether you listen on the regular old audio podcast form. So honored to get to be part of your Carolina journey, everyone. And so it's just a joy for me. Carson, to your question about getting back into the top 25, Georgia Tech's not a great team. Citadel, who Carolina plays on Tuesday, is on paper the worst team Carolina plays all season. They're outside the top 200 at KenPom. Every team Carolina has played so far is top 200 at KenPom. So there's that side of things that you got to be aware of. Now, next Saturday, the game against Ohio State is the next quad one opportunity. As of now, Carolina only has 6 more quad one opportunities on their schedule. And so winning that game would be massive and might help. But we're just going to have to wait and see on the top 25. This week, Carolina still had 1 vote, which is silly. They should not have had any votes, but they'll start to inch their way back up. But you got to string together these wins. After losing those 4 in a row, even though you all and I know the external issues that went on to contribute to that 4-game losing streak, a lot of the voters around the country just don't know and see all that. They're not taking the time to check in. And so it's going to be a while before people trust the Tar Heels. So in order to get back to the top 25, you got to string more games together. All right, folks. Here is the last thing. Where was it? From the Nintendo Nerd. I saw this and just wanted to pop it up as the landing mark. It says, agreed, this was a good win, but we need to show this performance consistently from now on. And that's the thing. Great job. Great. I haven't thought through this, but I think I believe what I'm about to say, that this is the most complete performance for the Tar Heels so far this season. Because they were ready and going from the beginning. I believe got out to a 7-2 lead, and there were a couple little tiny lulls, but nothing where I felt like they had any big lapses. I thought the entirety of the game was where it needed to be. So as of right now, and I'll talk about it Monday if I think on Monday's show if I think differently, but this was the most complete performance for the Tar Heels this season. And so that is what you build on. You continue to have, I thought the defensive effort was great today. I thought there was much better ball movement, as we've talked about. That assist percentage was high. And so, man, great stuff there. But as Nintendo Nerd says, you got to build on it. You got to, here's the thing. Tuesday against Citadel, you got to get to 100 and you got to beat them by 30 or 40 points. And it's got to be beginning to end a floor waxing for the Tar Heels. That's what we're waiting to see. And I can't wait to see it. Hope you all will tune in. We'll have a post game after Citadel on Tuesday night. Make sure you're here, have your questions ready, and we'll dive in. I might even see if our guy, Coach Pat Kilby, can join us for that. Obviously, he'll be with us on Wednesday's show to unpack the game, but would love to have him in in our live post game like this as well. Hope you all have a great Saturday. What do you think UNC football will do with the transfer portal? More on that coming this week for sure. Lots of stuff there. We got to get an offensive coordinator first. That's the thing. Okay. By the way, while this has been going on, Alabama knocked off number 1 Houston, and so I believe we will see a new number 1 on Monday, pending what happens. And I think it's going to be UConn. They're the most impressive team in the country to me right now. Been tracking a lot more nationally. I don't know if you're aware, I've started co-hosting Locked On College Basketball. And so would love for you to tune into that show as well, where we talk about teams from all over the nation. But should be a new number 1 on Monday, and I believe it will be the UConn Huskies. A great Saturday of basketball today. Another fantastic Saturday of basketball next week. Make sure you tune in for that. And again, if you're going to be in New York for the game, would love to meet you as well. All right, folks, we're at 45 minutes. We have been going. Great to be with you as always, and it's a great day to be a Tar Heel, right? Until Monday, peace.